Acknowledge me.
You just made the list.
I am the wwenxt.
I'm better than you, and you know it. Damn.
Welcome back to Down on the Mat podcast here in Madison Square Garage, around the pool table of relevancy. To my left, the prince that is Daniel Danielson. To my right, the king of rowdy, Reece. And I am King Booker Ted, here to talk all things wrestling. We are talking about King and Queen of the Ring.
Yes.
It does look actually pretty good. We've just finished watching King and Queen of the Ring from Jeddah in Saudi Arabia. Guys, what do we think? Do we enjoy the show?
Yeah, good show.
Solid Triple H PLE.
Yep. What we expect?
Yep, 5 matches, all good
I
quality.
think there was a bit of a swerve in there at one stage.
Yeah.
Was there?
The opening match.
Oh yeah, okay, no, okay,
No, wrong
yeah,
show.
no.
Wrong
He's talking about the opening match.
That'll
But
be on Double or Nothing
I think
tomorrow.
the swerve for me, the unexpected, was the crowd.
Yeah, they were really good.
Yes. And we did discuss this while we were watching. France has really made everyone step up.
Oh, absolutely.
And it's paying off because we absolutely love crowds like this.
But I think we did notice that the crowd is very different from
Yes.
previous Saudi shows.
And that's one thing we noted. Like those very early Saudi shows were catered to the sheiks and
The more
princes.
elite. Yeah.
And they're more catered to the fans now, which is really good.
Because previous shows, it was literally like they had their big lounge chairs with their tables and they
Yeah.
were sitting around, whereas this was your traditional just wrestling row seating.
Yep.
A full front row of women at the front as well. I don't know if you actually
a
noticed
bunch
that,
of
but
women
the
and
whole
kids around,
front
yeah.
row was all women, which is absolutely awesome. And we did mention this, that every time WWE go to Saudi Arabia, they seem to just push that bar a little bit higher for women's wrestling and women in general in Saudi Arabia. So absolutely amazing, because they had three
women's matches, 2 women's referees as well.
Mate, they're just going for it now, and it's great. It's great to see, and it's great to see the crowd getting behind those matches too, because they were quite vocal.
Yeah.
And to be fair, they were also fairly loud on SmackDown too.
Yeah.
So they had a fair bit of interaction on SmackDown, which was recorded in the same building the night before. And that I'm glad that sort of bled into the pay-per-view. I don't think that they didn't burn out too early. They were there for both nights, which is really good.
Yeah,
But I think what it points out now is USA needs to get their act together.
They've
been
after,
better.
after France. They've piped up a bit, which is good. But yeah, like just the overseas crowds just make them look terrible.
Well, I mean, it's the Triple H booking though at the moment, right?
And
He
it's
knows it.
smart
He's put
booking.
all of the PLEs are going to be overseas, bar the big ones, which, you know, when you get a big stadium show, you're going to know you're going to get a crowd anyway.
Yeah.
Taking everything else overseas, you know that France set the bar, and this crowd in Saudi Arabia was pretty good. Then you're going to have Clash in the Castle, which is rowdy Scottish crowd.
And
That's
also,
weird.
We've already
the
got our
announcement of
first confirmed match.
Yeah.
Yes.
Announcement of Japan. Like, we talked about that on the last podcast about when are they going back to Japan, and it's like,
Well, they've just
maybe
announced
Paul's
it.
been listening to the podcast. I don't know.
He's a fan. I'm pretty sure he's subscribed. If he's not, you should like and subscribe down below.
We'll have to figure out what his moniker is on YouTube. He's obviously using some sort of pseudonym?
Yep. An internet pseudonym
For sure. Look, overall, I'd have to say I was entertained by the pay-per-view overall. I think we're going to get into a few sort of more detailed points. I think there was one situation I think you'll probably agree with me on that wasn't quite what we expected.
Yep.
Yes.
And left a little bit of a bitter taste in the mouth. But other than that, I think a great show. And they actually started in the pre-show. We had Bianca and Jade defending their titles against Candice and Indy.
I got up early so I could watch this match, and I watched it without you guys.
Yes.
Just so I can report on it. Jade and
Such
Bianca.
dedication.
Jade
It's well
and
done.
Bianca
Dude,
picked
that
up the
is
victory.
dedication. You were still asleep when we got here. So
Not quite.
you might as well have been.
He only
Yeah,
he
probably.
literally like he got out of bed and then you guys rocked up.
To be fair, we started watching it at 6 a.m. All right?
I was
6
up at-
a.m. on a Sunday.
After going to Slam last night, too,
I was up
so.
at 5, so that's why I was just like, all right.
You are a morning person, though.
I am not a morning person.
I didn't get a good sleep. Anyway, Jade and Bianca pick up the victory. Candice and Indy were actually on top for the majority of this.
They're really good at selling those two, though. Like,
Yeah.
they are, you wouldn't quite say enhancement talent, but when you need a decent match out of a women's tag team, Indy and Candice in there, and they'll get it done.
They
for
seem
you.
to be the go-to for that at the moment, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, they worked Bianca's leg pretty early, dominated her for a good few minutes, and then got the hot tag to Jade. Jade Cargill, like we've seen her do power moves to the Kabuki Warriors through the WrestleMania feud and then winning the tag titles off them. For her to be able to stand her ground when someone the stature of Indy Hartwell does a crossbody and she just like stood there, just caught her and then flipped her over her
Yeeted
head.
her, as Jey Uso would say.
Absolutely astounding to see that sort of strength from her. And then that led on to the, I don't even know what they're calling their finisher, but the little like wheelbarrow DDT flip up.
And then Bianca like kicks her over.
It's
Yeah.
pretty
Kicks her over
impressive.
and- yeah.
I think they
Hit
need to
that,
have a
got the
nice.
victory.
They need to have a nice long run with these tag titles
Yeah.
and just.
I
Have
think
some
they're
great
going to as
matches.
well.
And I think we sort of called it that. We didn't. Well, not called it. It's been made official that it's Zoe Stark and Shayna.
Yeah,
next.
they won number one contenders match on.
Oh,
Raw
that was
this
the fatal
week.
four-way.
Yeah, the fatal four way.
So that looking forward to that.
that's
I
going to
think
be a
that'll
good
be.
match. I was hoping them to be a little later in their run, so there might be a little more doubt about them potentially losing those titles.
No, they're not dropping the titles for a year, man.
I know.
But I mean, they don't have to have one match, man. It can be more than that,
Yeah,
right? Like,
that's the thing.
have a match now and have a banger of a match, and then have that anticipation of we want to see it again. We want another one.
Yeah.
I think is probably what they're looking for with that. So that was the pre-show, and then we got into the main card. And to start off the night, we actually had Becky Lynch, the man, defending her title against Liv Morgan. And this was a bit of a shock
Yeah.
for you, Reece.
Yeah,
I
'cause it was
believe
a-
you were a bit shocked by this.
I mean, the biggest shock for me was the fact that it was a tuxedo versus the Britney Spears "Baby One More Time."
the tuxedo was a bit the flare.
It
I know
was-
Morgan said she loved
It was
the
the
flares.
flares.
It was
for
the
me.
flares.
It was the
Weird.
flares.
Yeah. And the fact that like Liv Morgan had come out, I think during the week, saying that last time she was in Saudi and she wore the Britney Spears get up was for the Elimination Chamber a couple
Yes.
years ago, and she was like dripping sweat and it was so uncomfortable and horrible. She had to peel it off herself. And then when her music hits and she walked out in the same thing, I was like, oh,
I wonder if it was just like made of different fabric, but it didn't.
No,
It looked
I
exactly
don't
the
think so. I mean, I have to say, by the end of the match, she looked very sweaty.
oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
As much as you can do with all that makeup on, but I looked at it, I'm like, far out, man. She is going to need
that'd be
to cool down after
terrible.
that.
Absolute props to the ladies for
Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
wrestling in those sorts of attires as well.
Yeah, definitely.
It's not going to be comfortable for them.
And not in short matches either. Like,
Yeah.
we're not even talking about, like 5-minute matches. These are 10, 15 plus
20-minute
minutes
matches, yeah.
that they're going for. And good match between Becky and Liv,
You're
actually.
going to look up the time.
I was about
You
to try and
look
see
up the
where I can
times,
find the
look up the
time.
times.
Yeah.
Wikipedia is also a reliable source.
Is it really?
It can be, yes.
Very reputable.
But the reason Reece was shocked is because Liv Morgan
Yeah.
actually picked up the victory.
I didn't think they pulled the trigger so early.
Your new women's heavyweight champion, Liv Morgan.
As much
Revenge
as like
tour.
The revenge tour.
it's coming to fruition.
Well, what was interesting is obviously before the match, we saw a backstage interaction between Liv and Dom when Liv was being interviewed and asking him, "What are you doing here?" And Dom's response was, "You know what I'm doing here. I'm here to make sure you don't get Mummy's title." Obviously, he made an appearance in the match.
Yep.
Slid a chair into
Steel
the ring
chair
to try and
in the
help
ring.
Becky. And Becky was obviously quite confused as to why someone from Judgment Day was trying to help her win the title. But unfortunately, he slid it in between them, and Liv was able to take advantage and DDT
Straight on it.
Becky straight onto the chair.
Hit
got
the Oblivion. Yeah.
1, 2, 3, your new women's champion.
And like you said, this was set up in the pre-show
Yes.
with the backstage stuff with Liv, and we've mentioned how they've been teasing this for weeks now. You've seen, Dom walking out of a room and then Liv walking out of the same room a little bit later. Then
bandana.
the bandana in her pocket and stuff. They've been planting the seeds for this storyline. I think like we called this when Rhea. Well, I know I definitely did. When Rhea first got injured, was that Liv's going to take everything from her. She's going to take Dom, she's going to take the Judgment Day, and she's going to take the title. And then when Rhea comes back as the biggest face in the company,
Yeah.
she's going to have to take it all back from Liv. And it's going to be brilliant. So that's that. They're on the road. That's
Yep.
what they're doing.
Yeah, look, I'm looking forward to this, man. I think, and I do think that they've changed hands for the title in Saudi Arabia for good reason because Liv is so popular
Yeah,
right
you
now
said
in
that.
the States that obviously if she'd won it there, she was probably going to get cheered rather than necessarily booed. So I think that's the reason behind it because then obviously she will get booed when she's up against Rhea because Rhea is going to be the natural baby face coming back. So,
16 minutes, 25.
yeah, there you go. So imagine doing that in that gear
Props
for
to
that
them.
long. No, thank you.
Nope.
Next match we had was actually my choice in the end of match of the night, and I'm not shocked because I
Agreed.
did call it at the time and said this thing's got the opportunity to steal the show, and that was the triple threat match for the Intercontinental title. Sami Zayn defending his title against Chatty Daddy and big old Bronson Reed from Adelaide.
Melbourne.
Do it for Melbourne.
Hell of a match.
Great match. I think some of the pre-show stuff that they did with this from Raw and SmackDown really set the stakes for what this match was going to be. Obviously, you had all the stuff with Alpha Academy and Chad and Otis setting it up on Raw. I think it was like the first nearly 45 minutes of Raw.
Yeah,
it was
it
pretty
was a
much
long time,
all
yeah.
Alpha Academy stuff, which is crazy. Yeah. And then SmackDown, you had Sammy, because obviously he's got the Arabic heritage and stuff.
Well, the fact that he's also a practicing Muslim.
Correct,
Yeah.
correct, that too. He was gifted a artwork. If they showed it on SmackDown, so he wasn't allowed to see it until like on camera. And essentially, what it was like a movie poster of Sami Zayn in Arabic with all like his highlights of things with like him and Kevin and him against Roman and things like that. And it was all in Arabic and stuff. And like he got really moved by how cool that was. And he did say that. If you walked into his house now, you wouldn't know he's a wrestler. He doesn't have his stuff. He's got boxes of things, but like he doesn't have things all over the walls around it. He goes, "This is going up on my wall." So that sets Sammy up. We always have him as one of the biggest babyfaces in the company, but really sets him up for this crowd as the focal point for this match.
Yeah.
And then all the stuff with Otis, obviously Bronson Reed just being big and bad and wanting to destroy everything.
But then also, obviously, in Chad's entrance, he comes out. We had Maxine and Otis. Maxine straight away gets told by Chad,
Go away.
"No, back out you go. See you later."
Yeah.
But
Imagine coming all that
yeah.
way just to like come out on stage and you just get told, "Nah, you go backstage."
Dude, if they wanted to give me a payday for that, I'd do that. I'd even wear that suit she was wearing. I definitely wouldn't look anywhere
looked
near
like-
as good, but I would take that payday
She
any
looked like
day.
a gold Logie.
She did.
Yeah.
She did. And then obviously Chad came down to "You
Logies,
suck"
man.
chance.
Yeah, I saw that clicking on Raw and I was like, it happened organically and I was hoping it'd stick and I'm so glad it did because now it's going to be a thing.
Oh, for sure.
I feel like maybe though, and I don't know if Def Rebel will do this or not.
Don't put it in his music.
No, don't put it in his music. But I feel like the music might need to change a bit
stop,
more
you're gonna
because it doesn't
manifest
quite.
it.
It doesn't quite
You're
fit.
gonna
It's
manifest
it. It's not heel
like
enough.
it doesn't quite. The rhythm doesn't work
Nah,
for me.
just leave it as it
Kinda
is. Let the
false.
crowd do what the crowd
You're
do.
going to manifest it, Ted, and then you're going to make us mad. Okay?
We don't.
I
need
do that
chatty
enough
daddy.
already.
Definitely.
So anyway, and then we obviously had the interaction between Chad and Otis ringside, where it's remember the plan, go with the plan, do what I tell you,
Yep.
etc., etc.
He takes Bronson out.
Sammy came into a hell of a reception, and as you said, Dan, how dare he have two cities that he gets receptions in?
Yeah.
Saudi Arabia, Jeddah, and
Montreal.
also in Montreal. But he deserves it, mate. No matter what Reece says. But what we
I
loved
love
about this
stirring
match,
shit.
you
fun.
do. What we loved about this match, and we've said it before on previous matches on the podcast, the fact that it was very much a triple threat. So it was three wrestlers. Bronson did quite a few three-way moves, where the one where he did the Uranagi of Chad onto Sammy while he had him in a headlock.
Yep.
Yep.
The
double Samoan drop.
the double Samoan drop, the double ankle lock.
Yep.
Like there was a lot of
many
proper-
Then Chad did the double German suplex.
Oh yeah, Bronson, man,
On Bronson and
holding
Sammy.
So
like,
good.
He, pound for pound, mate. We have him versus Jade Cargill, see who's stronger. But a hell of a match, and it just paced so well. There was no sort of down points where there was gaps where we thought, oh, what's going on?
Thir- you
13
engaged.
minutes, 13 and 40 it was.
Is that one of our quickest of the night?
No, the next match was quicker.
Yeah. But still, it felt pretty long. Like there
Yeah.
was a lot going on.
Well,
They packed a lot into 13
Yeah, I was
minutes.
going to say, that it wasn't that it felt so long, but they did a lot in 13 minutes. Like, they never stopped. And like we've said before, WWE seems like that they've gone away from that old trope of triple
Take
threat
someone
matches being
out.
someone's on the outside for a little bit, they come in and then it's one-on-one with someone lying down the whole time. This was a lot of three-way moving.
Yeah.
And that's why I think it felt like so much happened in that time frame, is because it never stopped. There was always someone moving around.
But the timing it takes to do that, though, like
Yeah,
the
and
precision.
like that's the thing. Like the stuff that we used to grow up with, having someone get taken out and then essentially be a singles match, and then someone come back in and the roles get swapped. The fact that they're doing this like on NXT, on Raw, on SmackDown, on pay-per-views with triple threat matches.
Yeah.
it make anytime a triple threat match gets announced, you know there's going
triple
to be
threat.
great spots, great fluidity in these moves.
But what was also awesome about this match was the moving on the story and setting up, obviously, for what's happening with Alpha Academy. We've already seen Chad have some interactions with the Creed brothers, which is sort of
Yep, we
setting
saw that on Raw.
what's happening. But obviously, we had Otis took out Bronson, first of all, and then Chad, Yes, well done. Now Sammy chucks Sammy out.
That's
and
where he
Otis
hesitates.
started having some second thoughts about should he take out Sammy or not. And obviously, Chatty Daddy came out and smacked, or tried to smack some
the
sense.
shit out of him.
I tell you what, if Otis didn't have a beard, man, like that's surely going to help
would
take the
hurt
sting out.
so
But
much.
he smacked him good, man. Like you heard that. It wasn't a fake slap.
No.
But then so Otis revved up. And obviously Chad had to hold up Sammy. Sammy ducked at the last minute.
Yep.
Boom,
Down
Chatty
goes
Daddy
Chad.
taken out, which gave Sammy the opportunity to give Bronson the Helluva kick in the ring. Gets the 1-2-3. Still your Intercontinental Champion, Sami Zayn. Very good match.
Love
good
it.
result.
Love the fact that it was a good match. We said that. Probably our match of the night.
Yeah.
I agree.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I agree.
I love that Chad wasn't in the finish.
Yep.
So obviously
Protect
that
him,
story continues. He gets protected. I love that Otis had that, dissension, but not necessarily total dissension because he ended up doing what Chad wanted.
Yes.
Just messed it up. And then the whole thing afterwards with Chad just staring at him, looking really grumpy and stuff.
Yes.
Like that storyline, keep it going. Build it.
Yeah.
Don't do it quick. We don't need to dissolve Alpha Academy straight away.
Yeah.
Give us some time.
But also, it's very good because Bronson still looked absolutely awesome in the match
Absolutely.
with the moves that he did.
Yep.
We also forgot to mention the fact that Sammy got a blue thunder bomb on Bronson. Reed.
yeah.
Still didn't get the 1-2-3.
Never does.
Never
Never
does.
does. Never
So Bronson still looks absolutely awesome in the
Yeah.
match. Looks very strong, and I think there is some good things coming in Bronson's future as well. But at the moment, he is definitely. He's not an also ran in matches. He's doing his part very, very well.
More horse terminology.
Yeah, man. Of course, it's all I know. So no, I'm super stoked for Bronson because obviously he spent a bit of time on the sidelines because he had his new kid turn up and
Yeah.
everything else. So I think Triple H is.
Not like a kid just
getting him
knocked
there.
on the door and was like, "Hey, I'm here."
Hello,
It's
Hey,
childbirth.
Daddy.
Like,
I'm
had
from
9
Melbourne.
months, it was coming.
There's a Melbourne in Florida.
I bet there is. Yeah. There's a lot of towns that are doubled up in these
Melbourne.
countries, man.
Now we get to the King and Queen of the Ring.
we get to the Queen of the Ring first, where we had Nia versus
Lyra.
for
Correct.
the final of the Queen of the Ring. And I don't know if some of you at home may remember, someone picked that was going to be the final.
I think he's taking too much credit, man.
No, I'm going to give him a pat on the back for that one. Why not, Ted?
Thank you. It
Book
was
of
pretty
10,
obvious, but
coming in clutch.
I'll take it. So Nia versus Lyra. This was a good match. I did enjoy it.
I think-
Lyra's quite zippy.
Lyra's entrance was cool with the wings.
Oh.
That looked really
She
sick.
looks fantastic when she does that stuff.
And what was awesome is we had the Queen of the Ring final, 2 women obviously wrestling for it with Jessica as the referee. What?
Sorry, who was the referee again, Ted?
Jessica.
That's because she's a bird. It's Lyra. That's what it was.
Look, her outfit was very cool with
It was.
with the raven thing. But as soon as I saw it, I'm like, oh yeah.
I think I was listening to I think it was the Wrestle Talk podcast. They were talking about Lyra winning obviously the Raw side of the tournament and getting into the final, which was cool. And it's great that she's come up from NXT and she's
Yeah.
really good in the ring and she makes people look good when she's wrestled. Like her match with Io was really good.
Yes.
I think, didn't you say that the Lyra versus Io match was like 19 minutes, which was longer than the entire previous Queen of the Ring tournament
Correct.
in one match?
Correct.
So that's mind blowing. But also, like, she's really good in the ring, but she is very
One-dimensional.
two-dimensional right now. She's Becky's friend and she likes birds.
yeah, one-dimensional is what you meant, man.
Yeah,
but-
sorry. She likes birds and she's Becky's friend. There's nothing really else to her yet. So I'm glad she didn't win because I think it would have been a bit too early for a character to have something like this with her. And we all wanted Nia to win in terms of, well, not maybe wanted, but we all thought she should win this.
Yeah.
She deserves this. And
Yeah, she's been doing a lot. She's been the bridesmaid, not the bride, quite a few times now. It was a bit weird though that Triple H came out and gave her that big hug at the end because I'm like, that's not very heelish to get a hug. But
Yeah. It was just an opportunity for him to whisper, I already did this because The Rock said so.
the Samoan dynasty, my man.
But
And
I
then-
really like the way that match ended.
yeah, Dan.
Yeah,
we
look-
both liked the way the match ended.
look,
Dan.
I didn't like the ending because I didn't catch.
It felt quick, yes, because like we were talking, and then we
And it
heard
was
the ding,
over.
ding, ding, and we were like, "What the hell
we
happened?"
looked away at the wrong
And
time.
then with the replay, Lyra trying to go for a sunset powerbomb, and then Nia just
But see,
flattening her.
again, that was the part I missed because I was
Yeah.
talking with you. All I saw was
her sitting?
Was Lyra fall and then Nia sit on her.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, they've botched something. It's gone wrong. And
no, it was perfectly done.
when I saw
Yeah.
that she was doing the sunset, I was like, oh, that makes sense. Because she was, I'm pretty sure Nia had her up first for a top rope white noise, and Lyra kept wiggling out of it, and that's how she fell down.
Yeah.
I just saw the wiggling, and then I saw the splat, and I was like, oh, what happened? So
It'll be interesting to see how they're going to build up, though, because obviously Nia is on SmackDown,
Yep.
as
she'll
is
go
Bailey.
as Bailey.
yes.
So she's going to get a
throw
shot at
back
that title.
to black and gold NXT days. They did have a feud for the NXT Women's Championship, which it was good. It doesn't get me excited for
See,
on the
I
main
think
roster.
I think they need this because I think Bailey right now, who does she feud against? Your two biggest stars on SmackDown are Bianca and Jade, and they're
tag
now
champs.
on tag champs, right? So they're not going to be versing Bailey. You've already done all the stuff with Damage Control, and they're now on Raw.
Yeah.
Bailey doesn't really have a clear kind of path. Like, definitely the weaker side of the tournament was the SmackDown side for the women.
Yeah.
So I think Nia makes the most sense.
Yeah.
And the fact that you can now say that Nia versus Bailey is going to happen at SummerSlam, that gives you 2 months to build to it. They can both have differing matches. You can put some storyline and stuff in there to build to it. And I think that's the match that we probably is fine.
Yeah.
Like I said, if it was going to be Lyra winning and you got Lyra versus Becky or Lyra versus Liv, you can't really sell me that on a SummerSlam match. But you can sell me Nia versus Bailey as a SummerSlam match.
Yeah.
Especially because Becky's obviously probably going to have a break now. We'll go back to her break that she's
Back on
supposed to
holidays,
have.
yeah.
And obviously Liv's whole storyline is now going to be entwined with the Judgment Day and Rhea and everything else. So, it all makes sense with the way it's gone. But Lyra got, she got up there. She had some banger matches. I think it was the best way to introduce her up from NXT because now she's had, 3-4 matches now?
Yep.
In the tournament.
Same what they did with Ilya Dragunov. Just giving them really good quality
Strong
matches
showing.
on TV.
Yeah, so fantastic. And right result, man. Nia's been working hard. So she deserves,
will admit.
deserves it.
The crown did look good on her.
It did
It
actually.
did look
Oh,
pretty
Nia.
good.
It did. Yeah, it did.
And like she's always been that sort of snooty heel that like I'm bigger and badder and it's all about me.
Yeah.
It's
Now
the
she's the
perfect
queen.
opportunity.
Like
Exactly.
It really
I want to see her come out with some robes on.
lean right into it. Yeah, for sure.
But I know someone mentioned about does another queen now come back and say there's only one queen? Please no.
that could be.
I will
It
say it
couldn't
again.
work actually. I should be
I
so
said
harsh.
it
It couldn't work.
off air while we were watching.
Yep.
It's weird that part of me kind of misses Charlotte because I hate her so much, but I think I'm going to pop when she comes back. And then audibly groan.
Do you pitch that? So we get to
Because
SummerSlam.
we know she's going to come back and then go straight
Absolutely,
to the title picture,
absolutely.
because that always happens.
So
Always happens.
do you then get to SummerSlam and you
think
have
Nia wins.
Nia versus Bailey? If Nia wins, then Charlotte comes back and says, "I'm the
There's
true
only one
queen."
true queen.
Yeah. Or does Bailey win and Charlotte comes back and says,
Either
"You've
way.
beaten one queen, now you have to beat the other."
Either
You
way
got
works,
two
man.
good potential storylines.
Yeah, either way works. I like it. I like that.
you are.
Book it down. Book it down.
Yeah, not as good as Booker Ted, but
I don't know, man. It's questionable.
I'll try my best.
It's questionable. All right, so we get on to the King of the Ring final. We have Gunther versus
boy Randy.
Orton. Now,
Very slow.
was it
Methodical.
ever?
I don't. I've got the time for the match.
Yeah, but that doesn't count the entrance.
21 minutes 50.
I reckon about 6 to 8 minutes for Randy's entrance.
Randy's
he really
entrance.
How
soaked that up.
long was
He
Randy?
really soaked that up.
If you haven't watched it, just go and look it up. He was very, very, very slow because the ramp wasn't that long. It really wasn't. It was pretty normal length. And Randy
timed it.
really took forever to get to the ring. Obviously, there was some sort of timing issues where they were told to sort of stretch it out a bit. But not only was the entrance really slow, the match itself. What?
No, we'll get to it in a second.
Oh, okay.
Just a very
Sorry.
funny comment. The first thing I saw on Reddit was hilarious.
Okay. So look, the match itself was very, very slow, which I guess was trying to play into the story of two great wrestlers trying to get on top of each other.
And that's the thing. Randy, he's a veteran. He, third generation superstar. This is in his blood.
Yeah.
Him to work these types of matches with a wrestler at the caliber of Gunther, we knew from the get-go that it was going to be a wrestling
Absolutely.
match, and it would be a psychological
The
wrestling
instant
match.
bruise that Randy got on his pec from that
that
Gunther
chop.
You mean the one that was the frying pan to the heart
Yeah.
out of
Good
nowhere?
call, Corey Graves. Frying pan
Jesus.
to the heart.
But the worst part to me was out of nowhere. Gunther's standing literally in front of you, staring you in the face, doing this. You're like, oh my God, I never saw it coming. What?
Frying pan too. I'm like, that's an interesting. I mean, his hands are pretty big, but I'm not going to lie. I'm going to put it out there because this is very odd for me to say about any match that Randy or Gunther's in. I was thoroughly disappointed in this match,
I wouldn't say
actually.
disappointed. I think,
Underwhelmed.
I think that's the better way to put it because these, like, we know Gunther has the capability to put on such great matches, and so does Randy. And I think there may have been that initial feeling out period, which is why it took them so long to actually, like, get into the flow of things.
Yeah.
They're trying to, when you, not that I've ever done it, but, like, when opponents face each other for the first time, they have that period where they're just trying to feel each other out, headlocks, reversals, and all that sort of stuff. So that took up a little bit of the time.
Yeah.
But, like, it just didn't get to the point that we thought it was going to get to, like with normal Gunther matches.
Well, 'cause
where it's
normal
just, like,
Gunther-
there's so many good sequences, and big moves,
We'll talk
close
finish
finishes.
shortly. But normally, like you said, with Gunther, he finishes in sequences, right?
Yeah.
It's normally a clothesline into a powerbomb, into a Boston Crab, into a
Yes.
splash. Like it's boom, boom, boom,
Combo
boom, boom.
moves. Very
There wasn't a
Mortal
lot-
Kombat style.
Yeah, and I mean we've got a YouTube video up at the moment about Jey Uso, right? And how he's a little one-dimensional and he's really over until he gets in the ring and then no one cares. And a lot of people in the comments to that have said that that's kind of similar to Randy Orton in the fact that, but I mean, Randy, not the same way. Randy Orton's completely over and everyone loves him, but he is very limited in his moveset, right? Randy has his 4, 5, 6 moves of doom like John Cena does, but we all love them because he paces them out so well and puts them into the match where they're supposed to sit.
Yeah.
Whereas Jey has 4 things and no one cares.
And he does them.
And
That's
that's
how
so
you really feel.
But also, like the thing that I was telling you guys before too about Randy is that I think he came out in an interview this week, maybe it was with Sports Keeda or somewhere, saying that the one thing that his dad, Cowboy Bob Orton, taught him was to sell. So if at the start of the match someone drop kicks your knee out, you sell that knee for the match because that happened to you, right?
Yeah.
And you see it in this. Like his knee was hurt from SmackDown, Gunther attacked the knee, and the whole match long, Randy sold that.
And then he started selling his back too from the attack on the back.
exactly.
But
And so-
I guess we'll get to the finish now, obviously. But I think this is where I really felt more disappointment than anything because I don't want to say botch or anything, but it wasn't a smooth finish. I think is the best way to
So,
put it, right? So
the fact that he kicked out of an RKO.
well,
was
number
brilliant.
one,
Well,
and
he
they
kicked out
tried
of
to
the
sell
second
off.
RKO.
Yeah, and the fact that they tried to sell off that he couldn't get the pin properly because of his knee.
Because he couldn't
Didn't quite, because it was like that doesn't. It's an RKO. Like they're knocked out, man. Like,
But
it's
also,
an RKO. Like,
my issue with that, if that's your finish, right? I'm all cool with it. If Randy can't put his leg down, so he's kind of up a little bit higher than normal, and it's 1, 2, and he rolls
then he
straight,
rolls
into,
straight
it.
into it.
He didn't. It was
No,
1,
he
2,
kicked
kick
out.
out, then roll him.
Yeah. But then,
but then obviously the fact that his shoulders weren't.
So the
and
comment,
like this was the thing we were watching, and we saw the shoulders, and we saw the ref continue to the count. Like I got up out of my seat when the ref hit 3, and I just
Yeah.
walked away. I was like, "How did that happen? How did they not at least like stop it and then just try and redo the spot so
Yeah.
it looked
yeah.
better?"
So the first comment that I found on Reddit, which I had to have a very good chuckle at, was Orton's shoulder was higher than Matt Riddle for that finish.
That's pretty good, bro.
It's very good.
That's good.
Bro, higher than Matt Riddle.
I hate
I
Matt
do
Riddle,
look.
man.
I think it was a botch.
Yeah.
Because when they showed the finish again,
They showed
it
a
was from the
different
other
angle.
angle. You couldn't
But
see it.
no, but you could still see his shoulder.
I
was
know,
up.
but it wasn't
Yeah,
the
but
clear
you
shot.
could also see the realization on the ref's face when he sort of called for the bell that he was like, "Oh no," but he obviously was like, "That was the finish. I had to do the finish." And
look,
obviously, you got to remember,
this
like
is-
when they're on like PLE, they are very much
Oh,
strict
for
on
sure,
call.
for sure,
Yeah.
for sure.
So they would have been like, "Well, do we have more time to use or not? Because we're going to be cutting into the main event."
And it's
So-
just unfortunate because it's just going to be another one of those moments like with the women's triple threat main event at WrestleMania 36, where Ronda's shoulders were up, nothing was called, and it's going to be something that we're going to talk about.
unless they do make it part of the story somehow with Randy that his shoulders weren't
They're on
down.
different
but I don't think
shows.
they're
What are they
going
gonna do?
Yeah. I
Yeah,
don't think
they're not
going to.
having another match again. anytime
Yeah, what are
soon.
they going to do?
So look, a bit of a shame because obviously that was one of the
does
matches that we
taint
were
it a
all
little bit,
very
And look,
we were all very excited for. And
Yeah.
we did say it was underwhelming, but it was very strategic by Gunther the entire match.
Yes.
He picked him apart. He hurt him where he needed to hurt him. He was going to win that match regardless,
Yeah.
right? Orton had all of his good spots. I think one thing that I did notice when he went for the running power slam is he kind of slipped Gunther out a little bit more, which was a bit, maybe
Scary looking.
Yeah, weird. But I loved the ring awareness or the spatial awareness or whatever Corey Graves said of Gunther when he got hit with that first RKO.
Yeah.
And Orton couldn't cover him.
Just as he's reaching out,
He rolled.
Yeah, he rolled out of the ring.
Just
Yeah.
like that is
That was
very,
perfect.
very
Oh,
smart.
that's why he's now the king.
because we thought it was
generally.
just going to be a normal kick out because it took Randy so long to get there.
But now
Yeah,
he rolled.
But that gave Gunther enough time to just be conscious enough to roll out of the
Yeah.
ring.
So very smart.
So Gunther is your king of the ring. And then that got us to the main event of the night, where we had Cody Rhodes, the American Nightmare, defending his title against Logan Paul,
Sorry,
Mr.
I'm
Prime.
just a bit thirsty, boys.
Which we did. I wanted to point out, and we talked about this. We got to find out why. No Prime hydration station and no Prime advertisement in the ring.
Yeah.
So there's got to be a reason for
I
it.
think ring wise, like I kind of thought it might be to do with the contract that they've got with Saudi Arabia and like all the shows that they've got.
I also
Like the 10-year
think
contract that they had.
when Logan announced it, and if you know, correct us in the comments just so that we are aware of it, but I'm pretty sure he said that Prime will be on the ring for all North American pay-per-views.
Why was it in France then?
It was in France?
I believe it was. Yeah, it was in
Damn,
France.
I stand corrected.
Ted thinks it might be something to do with the laws over there and advertisement because, like, that was one thing we noted as well. There were no sponsored matches on this
No,
card either,
none.
Yeah.
which is very out of
Yeah.
the usual
Yep,
for
agreed.
WWE. To
I mean, we know they have some pretty
questionable.
laws over there, so I wouldn't be
Yeah.
shocked if
Oh.
it's something along the lines of they just don't advertise for junk food and
Yeah.
all that kind of
Would not
stuff.
be
So,
surprised.
no offense, Prime. Sorry, Logan.
It got its fair share of.
It
Hey,
did.
mate, Prime Hydration is fine. It's just
Prime
apparently
Energy.
Prime Energy drink that's the bad one. It's got all the PFAs, forever chemicals, whatever they're
Oh,
called.
those ones. Yeah, okay. But anyway, back to the match.
Hashtag sellouts.
But I'll tell you
This-
what,
this-
speaking
this
of
is a good
Prime,
match.
Logan is still in his prime, and he will be for a long time. Hell of a match, some great spots. Him and Cody did quite well, I think,
just-
for what they had. The frog splash.
It is seared into my freaking memory.
Yeah.
Just the shot of the drone, just like as
so
Logan's
good.
climbing up
Yeah.
and just around.
And then Triple H'ing the Prime.
So good.
Yeah.
Oh.
The Logan Paul Levesque era, baby.
Yeah.
Look, he has one of the best frog splashes, man.
does.
Seriously,
He does.
it is like when he does that one from the turnbuckle to the announce table. It is hands down one of the best. I'm not going to say it's better than Eddie Guerrero because people will hunt me down and kill me. But I tell you what, it's one of the best since Eddie
It's
Guerrero.
more athletic than Eddie Guerrero.
Yeah, it looks
Very
amazing.
Even that's a stretch, man.
And he's just so athletic in the ring. And I think we mentioned this during the show that one of the things that amazes me about Logan Paul being someone who's come from non-wrestling, and I know we keep harping on about how good he is, but we're going to because he is that good.
He is, yeah.
When he stops being good, we'll stop.
Exactly. The pacing that he has, because you see it a lot of the time with people who are non-wrestlers who come in and get involved in matches. They move too quickly sometimes. They don't necessarily understand the slower pace and how things look really quick on TV if you do them at a normal pace.
Yep.
And just the way he paces himself. Because how long was the match? Did we get a time for that match? 'Cause-
It was 20-something minutes.
yeah, I was going to say it was pretty long, but it didn't feel
match.
long. They,
Good length,
they,
though.
they
24-20.
paced it quite well.
So it was the longest on the card.
Yeah. 24-20. There you
Like
go.
they had a good section of it where there was that interaction between Logan Paul and his prime team where
Yeah, they got the brass knuckles.
got the brass knuckles because
Yeah.
of course he did.
But only got a shot into Cody's
gut,
abs rather
which
than into
He
Cody's
then started
face.
selling for the rest of the match.
He's learned from his mate Randy.
Yep.
The one thing that we sort of want to touch on with this too is around the commentary. How obviously it got into
Yes.
Michael Cole's face.
Yeah.
And Michael called him a loser. You're a loser.
And then Corey Graves
Everyone
got
knows
physical a little bit.
That really excites me because I mentioned this off air. I missed Corey Graves' NXT era.
Yeah.
I caught it as he became commentary in NXT. And I've heard the rumors that he's been wrestling and
He's been
clean.
training, yeah.
Yeah.
So the prospect of him potentially coming back and having a match,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and maybe
But
with
to
someone
me-
like Logan Paul, that's exciting.
To me, this was a missed opportunity. So they had throughout the whole show, they put the other wrestlers in the crowd and were showing like the A-Town Down Under was there and DIY was there, and specifically for this match,
LA Knight
they
was-
showed LA Knight in the crowd sitting just behind Michael Cole.
And he didn't get involved.
Yeah.
And
get
all
involved.
this is
Yeah, true,
happening.
true.
And the Saudi Arabian comedian and stuff who did the ring announcing for the match at the start, he got involved. Corey
not
Graves got involved, and LA Knight just sat there. And we've been tying up this whole stuff with him and Logan having sort of confrontations on SmackDown and
Yeah.
stuff. We all want to see that match. This was your shot.
Yeah.
You had a chance for him to get involved even in a slight way. Just grab Logan's leg or something like that.
But I guess for me, it's kind of like, well, if you're going to do it, because I'm also keen to see the Corey Graves bit, because obviously Corey held Logan back at first, and then there was another interaction after where we had that face-off where they just stared each other down, and Corey's body language was very like, well, if you want to go, let's go. So I'm excited for that. But I know what you're saying. What was the point of having LA Knight there if you're not going to do it? Just don't have him there. Like, why did you put the camera on him? Put him in for another match.
Put him in the crowd on the other side. But he was specifically shown right behind Michael Cole's shoulder.
Yeah. But good on him, because I could see afterwards as well, because obviously he was sitting right behind him. He was getting photos with everyone there too, which was absolutely fantastic. So what a legend. But yeah, very exciting. I think that was probably the most exciting bit of the whole match for me, was planting that seeds for Logan's next feud. And if it is Corey Graves, I'm all in for that. I think that'll be great. And
they're just going to keep teasing us, LA Knight, and not give it to us. They're just going to keep teasing
Mate, but that's the thing at the moment. All he's got to do is turn up and have his entry, and everyone goes nuts. Yeah. Like, if that's all you got to do, that's all you got to do. You know what I mean?
He's the megastar, man.
The megastar.
Yeah. So anyway, Cody ended up getting the victory after giving him 3 crossroads, which I was actually interested, because I thought we were moving away from that.
I was a bit interested by that. I think he could have just done with 1.
Maybe 2 even. I would have been happy with 2.
Maybe.
But
I don't know. I mean, Logan obviously hit Cody with the crossroads that he kicked out of. There was the Cody cutter on the table on the outside.
Yeah.
There was a whole bunch of really good spots in this match. It was a good match, and we've seen Logan do this every time he gets into one of these big pay-per-view matches, be it against Roman or the triple threat with Randy and KO. He just is good in the ring. And I think this was also, as much as a lot of people have been saying that Cody's reign has been a bit stale since he's won the title, this was that baby face coming from beneath win that he needed to have, where Logan was on top. The deck was stacked against Cody Rhodes, and he got hit with the brass nuts. There was all the interference, the low blow, the whole lot. He still won it.
Yeah, exactly. And we said it. It's proper heel versus proper face. Because I mean, AJ, he's a heel, but you kind of love him, right?
Well, he wasn't a heel in France.
No, he was phenomenal.
No, we're not doing it.
I was this close.
I was like, no,
it's done.
It was good while it lasted.
It was good. So yeah, that was the pay-per-view.
Yeah.
About 3 hours again, I think. For the actual show, not including pre-show. So it seems to be a pretty common thing now for the Paul
I was
Levesque
just upset about no Uncle Howdy, but we got the teaser.
But I don't think you're going to do it overseas, man. I think that's an North American thing.
It's some of the clues that are coming out this week. It's pointing to the Raw after Clash of the Castle.
It's only 3 weeks away.
Well, we've got to. Has anyone seen anything about the clue that we saw? Because when Bronson came out, obviously was when the QR code came out.
That's what I meant. So
that's
there's
alluding
apparently
to that?
been mention of Liberty and other similar things, and that links to the Statue of Liberty, which I believe was in one of the codes from pay-per-view or SmackDown.
And I'm pretty sure the Raw after Corpus Christi, after Clash in the Castle, I think. I don't know.
Yeah,
I think that's what they're saying. That's possibly where it'll happen too. So cool
But
stuff.
because of the Statue of Liberty stuff, not American, so correct me if I'm wrong, but
You're wrong.
it was officially unveiled on June 17th on whatever fucking year it was unveiled.
Yeah,
Sure.
And so
Wasn't
June
it also a
17th.
gift from France?
Yeah.
And they've already
Everything's
done
just
Backlash?
all
All tied together.
tied together.
Oh, here we go. Well, obviously, the big news out of that is obviously that means that Gunther and Nia will both get title shots at SummerSlam. Is the biggest news out of the whole pay-per-view.
And Papa H announced that Drew McIntyre is cleared and will face
Damian Priest at Clash in the Castle for the title.
So you assume the winner of that gets Gunther at SummerSlam.
Drew versus Gunther at SummerSlam.
Oh, man.
Lock it in.
Oh man, we got some good things coming, I tell you.
But look, you always need that kind of singles match that's not revolved around a title. That's just pure hatred.
Drew
Nothing
versus
better
Punk, man.
than Drew versus Punk. For
Yeah, it's gonna be-
SummerSlam.
It doesn't need a title too, though. That's the
does
thing. It
not
doesn't
need a
need
title.
it. It doesn't need it.
And I reckon if Drew doesn't win in Scotland, it's because of Punk, and then Damien's just going to get absolutely destroyed by Gunther.
Mate, it could even be Punk doesn't even have to be there. You could even just have Punk play his music. Drew gets
He'll get
distracted.
distracted and that's
He's not
it.
even
He's done.
there, and then bang, Damien gets the win. Something along those lines. I'm sure. Look, they've been cooking so far. I know we were pretty critical of his last promo that we talked about, but I mean, to have one thing we're a bit meh in everything else they've done has been absolutely awesome. You can't always to hit a home run every time is pretty hard. So I'm still excited for it. And to see what
Overall,
happens.
4 out of 5 star pay-per-view. I liked it. It's great.
I'd probably go 3.5,
Yeah,
and mainly
I think
because
about
I'm trying to
3.5,
give
4.
myself a space to vote other
Three-
ones that I
Okay.
know. could
I'll
probably
go.
be better.
I'll go middle. 3.75.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks, Dave.
Yeah. If it was Dave, he'd give it a 2. He'd give it a 2 at a stretch.
No, I'd go 4.75.
4.75. Okay.
It's 3.7.
Let us know what you
It's
think
good
in the
stuff.
comments, what you thought of King and Queen of the Ring, what you thought of the results, what you think of our assessments, and what you're excited for coming up at Clash of the Castle and at SummerSlam, etc. Who do you think is going to be facing off for those titles when we get there? Thank you so much for tuning in for Down Under the Mat podcast. Mr. Daniel Danielson, Rowdy Reece, Booker Ted, Pool Table of Relevancy, Madison Square Garage. We'll see you at the next one, baby. Sesame Teddy!